All right. All right. And good morning, everyone. And what a great day. What a great moment in time to be here, to be awake, to be aware, to be conscious. And this morning, I am so happy and grateful for the opportunity to once more be an expression of that foundation that has been laid. As the scripture reads that in 1 Corinthians 3:11, I believe, yes. Or yes, 1 Corinthians 3:11 for you Bible scholars. It says, "For other foundation can no man lay than that which has already been laid." So here it refers to a foundation. Foundation has to do with that which is the source of all things. There is no other source that can be laid. There is no other truth that can be told other than the truth that is true always. There's no other reality that can be created. There's only the one, and God is. So God is the foundation of everything. And that all things have been reconciled back into the one thing, as was demonstrated in the work of Christ, or in the life of Christ. It was a symbolic of God reconciling all the world that appeared to be fragmented back into the one thing, the one foundation. And here Paul picks up in 1 Corinthians 3 that there can be no other foundation laid. There can be no other reality. There can be no other truth. The oneness of God shall prevail. The one life that we share, the one being that we are. This reality that there is only the unification of everything. There's nothing separate. All is one. And here, as we begin part 2 of today's workbook lesson 200, there is a statement here near the end of this lesson that says, "For peace is union, if it be of God." So an aspect of that foundation that has been laid is peace. And if we are embracing the only reality there is, if we are embracing the only foundation, the only source of life, if we are embracing the absolute truth of our reality, then there is peace. It's just that simple. Where there's no peace, that means that we're trying to make something else. We're trying to stand on another foundation, which Paul said here, there's no other foundation. There is no other. There is no other foundation that can be laid. God is. And we cease to speak because there is no other. God is, and we cease to speak because in that quote, God is encompasses everything. There's nothing outside of God is. Therefore, we have never been outside of God is. And all that we have experienced and all that we have known and all that we have observed It is all within the awareness of God is. Some of it is an awakened awareness, and some of it is an awareness in a state of sleepiness where dreaming take place. And that is the place where we attempt to build other foundations, only to what? Be disappointed. Only to come to our wits' end, where we say, golly, there must be a better way. And there is. And today we're going to be looking into that better way. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Oliver Blue, and I am delighted to be your temporary guide, your temporary host, your temporary coach in this journey of transformation, in this journey of undoing. We are on a journey of undoing. We are undoing a way of thinking or a thought system that put us to sleep and led us into nightmares and vain imaginings. So we are undoing that thought system. And when we undo that thought system or deconstruct that thought system, all that is left is truth. All that is left is love. All that is left is light that was always there. It's like the great sculptor who just takes a block of stone or a block of ice, and it just chisels away that which is not needed, that which is unnecessary. And at the end of that that artistry, at the end of that process, what is left is something that is beautiful, something that is recognizable, and it was there all the time. It just needed to have that which was unnecessary chiseled away. And so is it as our life. So is it with the awakening or the enlightenment process. When we're not enlightened, or when we're not aware, when we're not recognizing the truth that is there, it's only because there are things that we are holding on to, things that we're embracing, ideas and thoughts and perceptions that become blocks to the awareness of what is always present. Your innocence, your innocence, your value, your significance, your ultimate equality with God in all creation, your unification and your oneness with everything, your eternal self, your infinite self, your loving self, your changeless self, your unalterable self. Your everywhere self is always present. But what blocks that awareness is our play with ideas like the belief in separation, our play with ideas like body identification, our play with ideas like the belief in scarcity. I'll play with ideas like believing that this world is the real thing, nor is Coke the real thing. But our play with these things becomes blocked to the awareness of what is always present. Your reality is always present. And so as we release these ideas that we have held, that we've been conditioned by this world, as we've been conned into thinking out of this world, when we release those things, when we deconstruct that which we have constructed, when the idea of a body is no longer present, what we come to find is our true self. What we come to find is our oneness with our Creator. What we come to find is the absolute perfection that we all share. And that is great news, man. That's a great experience. What we come to find is the end of all seeking and searching and looking. What we come to find is a certainty. What we come to find is a peace that passes all understanding. We find our joy, our happiness. We find the depths of our creativity. We find meaning for our lives, and then we understand that we can reinterpret the purpose of this world, the purpose of our body, the purpose of all these temporary things, and they become now tools to help us, right? What now? To be the light of the world and to share with those who are still unawake, unaware, and in need, and in need of a quickening experience. Just in need of a simple recognition. Just that simple. And so, yes, I'm delighted to be sitting in this chair with you, not as something different from you, not as something on a level different from you, but as your very own self. I see you as me, and I hope you see me as you. Therein lies our peace. So today we're going to finish up on workbook lesson 200, where we started yesterday, where the subject or the idea that is being burnt into our heart, fused within us, is that there is no peace except the peace of God. There's a workbook lesson that we did earlier that says, I want the peace of God. And it sounds like the peace of God is something that is aloof, something that is separate from us, something that we have to earn, or something we have to seek after. But no, the peace of God is always present. The peace of God is part of the foundation in which we share, that was laid, that was created by the only reality there is. And so the subject here is peace. And after living for 63 years on this planet, in this unique expression, I have discovered, regardless of wherever I travel, regardless of the culture, regardless of the race, the gender, the age, what I have come to discover is that, we all desire the same thing. And peace is one of those things that we desire. It is our goal. It's almost like we're pursuing something through all the activities and events and all of the things that we do, all of our doings. It seems like the search is for peace. And peace includes what? Having all our needs met. The absence of stress, the absence of anxiety, fear, and guilt. All that's a part of peace. And so I have discovered that everyone is in pursuit of peace, as though it's running away from us. And so today we're going to discover that there is no peace except the peace that comes from God only. And so if that peace that comes from God is the only peace there is, and we are one with God, so that tells me that we are part of the source of peace. So we would have to ask the question, why does it seem to be so elusive? Why am I not experiencing peace? I think we'll answer those questions as we move through this lesson. So yesterday we started out by saying, seek you no further, you will not find peace except the peace of God. So we established that God is the what? God is the source of all peace. Then we said this is the final point to which each one must come at last, to lay aside all hope of finding happiness where there is none, of being saved by what can only hurt, of making peace out of chaos, joy out of pain, and heaven out of hell. He said we've come to the final point where we lay aside any hope in those things. That's not the way. We have not found peace in any of those methods. And it said we need to forgive ourselves these vain imaginings that it could be found in a place that it wasn't put or wasn't placed. And it says, come home. This whole idea of coming home is the idea of awakening. This is the idea of enlightenment. It is a call that has gone out to all humanity. Jesus said it this way. He says, many are called, or in reality, he was saying all have been called. We all have been called back home. And it says, few have chosen. So to return to your infinite self, to your real you, the return to your reality of innocence and wholeness and completeness, the return to your perfection, the return to your reality is a choice. It says here, come home. The call has gone. Jesus said, well, everyone has been called, but only few have chosen. So everything that we have experienced in our life, in a sense, we have chosen it, either consciously or subconsciously. And we need to embrace that reality and quit putting this excuse of our experiences on something outside of us, on someone else, on some relationship that has failed, on some project that has failed, on what the government is doing, on what, the church is doing, on what, what's happening around the world. We find a myriad of things to blame our current circumstance on instead of taking responsibility for the fact that we have chosen to be right where we are. If you're sitting here listening to me, you're only sitting here listening to me because you have chosen that. And you've chosen every other experience that you've experienced. Because the power of choice still rely in each one of us. And to not make a choice, just say, hey, que sera, whatever shall be, shall be. And to say, I'm not choosing. I'm waking up today and I'm not choosing. Well, your not choosing is a choice. So we have to start with the idea that I have chosen. And so certainly I can choose differently, or I can choose again. And so the choice for peace is a choice. The desire to experience peace is a choice. The desire to remain in chaos is a choice. The desire to be angry and mad and frustrated. The desire to see through the eyes of the ego is a choice. The desire to hold on to things that don't serve us, that's a choice. So we have to come to the point where we realize that it is our choices. It is our choices that has created our experience. And so if we want a different experience, we can choose differently. And that's great news. No one can take away your power to choose. No one can take away your desire to know the truth. The body can be imprisoned. The body can be constrained or restricted. But who you are as awareness, as consciousness, who you are as uh, a free mind cannot be what? Cannot be imprisoned. Your reality cannot be imprisoned. And so it says, all have been called home. Why? Because there's nothing out there. This world will distract you as long as you give it your attention. We can line up with the culture and search for peace in the culture or in the relationship or in anything outside of where it was placed. And it was placed in each and every one of us. The peace that you desire is already in your midst. It's already in your possession. It's a part of your nature. And so peace comes from within the reality and not from without. It doesn't come from without. In a dream of separation. It says freedom is given you where you beheld, but chain and iron endures. And so where we experienced being imprisoned, where we have experienced limitation. He said, the same place where you have experienced imprisonment and limitation in your mind, he said, that's the same place peace resides. That's the same place freedom resides. He said, but you must change your mind about the purpose of the world. Here's the way out. You must change your mind about the purpose of the world. If you would find escape, you will be bound till all the world is seen by you as blessed and everyone made free of your mistakes and honored as he is. Our false perception of the world and of all humanity. That's what has us bound. And so we must change our mind about who we are. We must change our mind about who our brother is. We must change our mind about what this world is. It says, you made him not. We have not made another human. They are not ours. And so we cannot project our fears, our guilt, our sin consciousness onto another. That's what's got us bound. It says, you did not make them. It says, no more did you make your own self. So you can't even have an opinion of yourself. You can't make up an opinion of ourselves. Because we didn't make ourselves. No, we were a part of God's creation process, whereby God extended his very own self, or her very own self, or its very own self. Because remember, God is not a gender. That's an idea we need to let go. Nor are you a gender. In reality, in this perceptual world, yeah, there's a body that has a specific gender, but that's not who you are. So here it says that we must recognize the mistake that we have made in our perception, in our belief in separation, in our belief that we are these entities unto ourselves, and realize that there is only one and we're all part of the one. See, we have to have a change of mind. This is not about religion. This is not about this religious story, but this is about reality. This is about where you sit right now, where you have a self-image of yourself that you made, that you have a self-image of others that you made, that you have allowed this world to con you or conform you to its way of thinking, which there is no peace in that. There is no love, there's no joy, there's no sustainability there. There's only fear of the past and anxiety of the future. And so we have to be willing to what? Allow the mind to change, or have our what? Minds renewed or regenerated or awakened. No matter what you call it. Say you made him not no more yourself. And as you're, it says, and as you free your brother, the other is accepted as he is. So we ask the question, what does forgiveness do? What does forgiveness do? And when we talk about forgiveness here in the course, we're not talking about the forgiveness that, this panty-anty forgiveness where we say, okay, you did it. I'm going to pardon you. I'm going to let you off the hook. No. That's the forgiveness of this world. And that's not true forgiveness. Because in that kind of forgiveness, at the convenient time, they'll pick it back up and remind you that you did something or said something. We've played that game, and we know what that end result is. But here it says, what does forgiveness do? And when it talks about the forgiveness that is the Jesus brand or God's brand or the course brand of forgiveness, we're talking about the reality where you come to understand that what you thought your brother did, it has not occurred. Why? Because what happens in dreams is not real. When you wake up, see, the dream no longer exists. So when you wake up to your true identity, you realize that the games that we were playing in the dream of separation, they didn't really happen. So what I thought was an unfair treatment, what I thought was unkind, what I thought was not fair, all these things we say. They never really happen when you wake up. That's true forgiveness. And so if it never happened, what? You only see your brother as what they really are. It says, what does forgiveness do? And so in truth, it has no function and does nothing. In truth, why? Because in truth, there is nothing to forgive. In heaven, there's nothing to forgive. So forgiveness is not needed. In reality, it's not needed in our true self. It's not needed where there's no belief in separation. But it says it does nothing. But it says here, it says, for it is unknown in heaven. Heaven just is symbolic of the perfect reality that has always existed, that still exists, that is everywhere present. So in heaven is not a place, but heaven is a reality that we wake up to, that heaven is everywhere. That it is the perfection that we all share in this one being called God. So in heaven, forgiveness is not necessary. Why? It's unknown. It says it is only hell where it is needed and where it must serve a mighty purpose. So forgiveness is only needed here where we still have our belief system in the reality of this world. It's only needed where we believe in separation, where we believe that we are individuated and divided and not of the one self. It's only needed in this world where there is what? Hatred and belief in lack and the belief in loss and death and birth and sickness and disease and war and fighting and all the vitriol, where we believe that we're identified by political parties and religious affiliations and by which football team that we like, and where this divide is everywhere. That's where forgiveness is needed. It's not needed when you wake up. It's needed while you're still asleep. And it serves a mighty function. Why? Because it points us, open up the door for us to return home. And so, is not the escape of God's beloved Son from evil dreams. Forgiveness is the way that we wake up from the evil dream. You remember the story of the prodigal son. He came to the end of himself, chasing a dream, chasing something outside of his father's home. And he ended up in a state of total despair. He came to himself. He forgave himself and said, I will go back home to my father's house. That's the story of all of our lives. We can find us in that story somewhere. And so forgiveness is needed to open the door to our return. But it's not needed when we returned, because when we return to our original state of oneness with our Father, where there's nothing missing, nothing broken. When we return to our right mind, the mind of Christ, where we embrace our equality with our Father and with each other, there's nothing to forgive. Because all is one. And so it says, so is not the escape of God's beloved creation, which is you and me, from evil dreams that we imagine yet believe that are true. We believe in illusions while we are asleep. We believe that the boogeyman is after us. We believe that there's an enemy on every corner. We believe that we are a race or gender. We believe that we are, a political affiliation, a party. We believe that we are, of a religious or spiritual persuasion. We believe all these different things that separate us when we're dreaming these vain imaginations. So the escape from that starts with what? Us forgiving ourselves, forgiving the dream and the dreamer. He says it starts there. He says, isn't this worthy of purpose? Of course it is. And the good news is, this is the will of God, that all of us wake up to the truth, forgive ourselves and wake up to the truth, forgive, and realize that what we thought, what we thought our brother did, it does not occur. What we thought we did, it has not occurred in dreams. Just like in the natural, when you go to sleep at night and you go into a dream, and if that dream turns into a nightmare, you wake up, you said, oh my God, I'm glad that was only a dream. It wasn't real. And so that means everything that happened in that sleeping dream, it did not occur. Likewise, in this level of dreaming that we're on here, thinking that we're this body, this is a dream-like reality, because it's not the truth. You're not a body. And that we're born and that we die and everything in between, our activities. We come here naked, we leave naked. But we're talking about this personal self that we think we are. That's a dream too, because you're not a personal self. There is no personal self. There's only the one self, and we all share that one self. And so when we escape from the personal self that we made to the one self that God created, that we all share, therein lies the peace. Therein lies your happiness, your joy. Therein lies your creative expression. And then everything becomes purposeful, even the body. And so it says, who could hope for more? While there appears to be a choice, notice now, it appears to be a choice to make between success and failure, love and fear. Who could hope for more? We've learned in previous workbook lesson that in reality, there is no choice. You can't change who you are. That in reality, there is no duality. There is no world of perception. that that in reality we are unambiguous, which only means what God has preordained, like Paul said in Ephesians 1, that we should be holy, and we are. You are holy, and so am I, and so is everyone else. He said that we should be he said before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. So we're in a fixed state and we cannot alter it. We are in a fixed state and we cannot alter it. We cannot alter. You cannot change who you are. You can only dream of changing it. You can only dream of being something else. You can dream of being a sinner. You can dream of being in hell. You can dream of being sick and diseased. You can dream of being full of anxiety and fear. You can dream of, being in scarcity. You can dream of being uncertain and unstable, but you can't change the reality that you are eternal. You are truth. You are the real deal. You are the knowledge of God. You are unalterable. You are eternal. You are unambiguous. You are what? You are changeless. You are what God, everything that God creates. You are only love. You are only God's creation. You are beyond learning. You are beyond time and space. You have no opposites. You have no beginning, no end. You merely are what you are by God's will only. And so that is the end of all seeking. You have discovered the one thing. And you have embraced it for yourself. That is the end of all this seeking. And so there is no peace except the peace of God. That's our conclusion. There is no peace but the peace of God. And that peace resides where God placed it. He placed it in you and as you. The only thing between you and the experience of that is your letting go of the idea of this personal self, of this self that you made, of this world that you made. The only block between the awareness of peace and love's presence is a tiny mad idea that you and I and everyone has held on to, that we are these separate individual selves. And that we're not actually appearing as the person of God in our reality. It says there is no peace except the peace of God, because he has one son. See, oneness. There's only one of us. There's only one creation, one reality. And that is not something that is separate from our creator, but that is the declaration. Like Jesus said, I and my Father are one. When you see me, you've seen the Father. And so it says, there is but oneness. And in this oneness, we cannot make a world in opposition to the will of this one being that we share. We cannot make a world that is in opposition and to his own, which is the same as his. What is God is what is yours. What is yours is what is God. So we can't make a world that is in opposition to your oneness. We can't make a world that is in opposition to the will of God. We can only dream it up. And boy, can't we dream. It says, what could he hope to find in such a world? What could we hope to find in making something other than the perfection that we already share? What could the prodigal son find other than the absolute, complete, and wholeness that his father had already provided from him? What could Adam and Eve find? These are just stories, allegories. What could they find out beyond the Eden that God has provided for them? And they went out and found the chaos and created and made chaos only. And here we are, a part of that lineage in the dream. And we have to break the lineage by waking up in the dream. When you wake up in the dream of separation, you break that lineage. You're no longer beholden to the ideas of separation. You're no longer beholden to the idea of birth and death. You're no longer beholden to the idea that death is real. You're no longer beholden to the idea of scarcity, of lack, of loss. You're no longer beholden to that. You're no longer beholden to the idea of sin. Sin is not real. You're not beholden to the idea of hell. Hell does not exist. In reality, it only exists in the dream. You're no longer beholden to your prejudices. You're not longer beholden to your inequalities. You're no longer beholden to only seeing through the eyes of separation. You see all things as the one thing. You see God everywhere. You become love's presence. You become the light of the world. You have now joined in with your reality. And you see this life of with no limitations. You have found your peace. And it was you all the time. It was there all the time. It says, what could he hope for to find in such a world? It cannot have reality because it never was created. This world was made by a mind that believed it separated. The world that you and I live in, yes, time and space, it was made, not created. It was made through the dream of separation. And we did it. We did it. It says, it is here that we would seek for peace. Or must we see that as we look on it, the world can be but deceived. We come to know that the world, from the perspective of our making, can only deceive us. It's called self-deception. It's called laying another foundation. Jesus called it sinking sand, shifting sand, instability, anguish, hatred, fear, anxiety, all the oppositions to peace. That's what comes out of it. That's the effect of dreaming up a world or trying to lay a false foundation. Believing in our personal history and our personal self. That's all part of it. Holding our prejudices, seeing people as different from us. Seeing through the eyes of your race. Seeing through the eyes of your gender. Seeing through the eyes of your political belief or your religious belief. That's all part of the effects. And there is no peace in that. There's only judgment. And that we judge everything. Not according to truth, but we judge it according to what? That which is unreal. Thus you have the war and fighting. Thus you have the greed. Thus you have the poverty and the sickness. Thus you have the inequality, injustices. That's where it comes from. So it's coming from what? The mind that's thinking in a way that is antithetical to truth. And so that's why it said here, there must be a change of mind. This is the great awakening that is happening even before your eyes. This is in this great awakening, it's calling all humanity home. Calling for the return, the great exodus from the dream of separation. And forgiveness is like forgiveness serves as like, it's like the great sea that is split open and allow us to safely walk back into the heavenly places that we've never left. It says, yet can we learn to look on it another way and find the peace of God. It comes on through our seeing, through our perception. When we wake up, we begin to see things from God's perspective. It says this is where the peace of God is recognized. It says peace is the bridge that everyone will cross. Notice now, everyone, eventually, regardless of your status right now, regardless of where you are spiritually, regardless of where you are in your believing or whatnot, eventually you are coming home because there's no other place to go. Eventually. And I'm not talking about the death of the body. I'm talking about you making a different decision to embrace the atonement for yourself and walk away from every illusion that you have ever given credence to. That will happen. That change of mind will happen. And you can have that change. The change of mind doesn't need a body to happen. You will come home. You will. You seem like you got a choice, but you don't. You're coming home. Why? Because in reality, you never left. You can't sleep forever. I couldn't sleep forever. I decided to wake up. And I'm so happy. Life doesn't begin until you wake up. New discoveries doesn't really take place until you are awake. So peace is the bridge that everyone will cross to leave this world behind. But peace begins within the world. Notice now, it doesn't begin when the body no longer has life, but it begins within the world, perceived as different and leading from this fresh perception. That's what the Course says. That's the miracle. When we have a shift in our perception or change of mind, that is the miracle. That's what miracles are. When we no longer embrace our personal self, but we embrace the one self that we all share with God, not as something separate, but as one. That's the shift in perception. It says, and leading from the fresh perception to the gate of heaven and the way beyond. Peace is the answer to conflicting goals, to senseless journeys, frantic, vain pursuits, and meaningless endeavors. Only the will of God shall prevail. Only. Everything else is running this course, temporary course. But only the will of God shall prevail when time and space will no longer be. And no longer with this personal self that we have tried to make reality when it's not. It won't prevail. The only thing is God is. And so embrace that reality now. It says, now the way is easy, sloping gently towards the bridge where freedom lies within the peace of God. Let us not lose our way again today. We go to heaven, and the path is straight. Remember, heaven is not a place, it's a reality that's unchanged, that is everywhere present. It says, only if we attempt to wander can there be delay in needless wasted time on thorny byways. God alone is sure, and He will guide our footsteps. He will not desert His creation in need, nor let His creation stray forever from His home. Eventually, the dream comes to an end. He will not desert His creation in need, nor let His creation stray forever from His home. The Father calls. There's been a call that has gone out to all humanity, and that call comes from within. And the call is without repentance. You'll never stop hearing the voice of God. At some point, you have to get quiet, and you will hear the voice that speaks for God within you, as you, calling you back home. It says, the Father calls, and the Son, or God's creation, will hear. And that is all there is to what appears to be a world apart from Him. It's the hearing of the voice that speaks for God. And saying, yes, Father, into thy hands I commit everything. Like Jesus did. He was our example. He says, we're bodies. He says, and that is all there is to what appears to be a world apart from God, where bodies seemingly have reality. Now, is there silence? Seek no further. Now, is there silence? Seek no further. We have come to where the road is carpeted. The road is no longer jagged, but it's carpeted. These are just metaphors, meaning where there is comfort at our feet. With leaves of false desires fallen from the trees of hopelessness you sought before. Now are they under our feet. All hopelessness is where? Under our feet now. Why? Because we seek no more. There's nothing to seek. We have found our reality. We have embraced our oneness. We have entered into the peace of God. It says, as you look up and on towards reality with the body's eye, but serving for an instant longer now. So as we wake up, we don't immediately leave the dream, but we wake up within the dream. Why? Because we're needed. We still have others that are asleep, so we're needed to assist in their awakening. It says, so we serve an instant longer. It says, peace is already recognized at last, and you can feel its soft embrace around your heart and mind with comfort and with love. This is what we were looking for. And we opened the door through our forgiveness. And now our hearts and our minds are filled with comfort and with love. We are comforted with the same comfort by which God is comforted. We're comforted with the same comfort by which All that have awakened is comforted with the peace of God. That peace that comes from God only is now guarding our hearts and our minds and comforting us continuously. We're abiding in the peace. Mm. We feel the peace. We are aware of the peace. We notice the peace. Regardless of what's happening out there, there's peace in the midst of all of that. And that is where we abide. This is the peace of God. So today, we seek no idols. We're not substituting anything today for the peace of God. Everything else is secondary. We seek no idols. What is an idol? Idol is anything that is dreamed up and imagined that is not true about you. Everything that is not true about you and your eternal self, your infinite, holy, sinless, guiltless self, anything outside of that are idols, regardless of the form that it takes. Any idea, any thought that is outside of the reality of your oneness and your equality with God and with each other is an idol. Everything. But today we seek not for idols. Why? Because we have discovered the peace of God. It says peace cannot be found in them. There is no peace. We've already tried it. All of us have tried to find peace in so many other ways. And now we have what? Now we have found peace, and we found that peace is who we are. And now we extend that peace by forgiving the world and forgiving everyone. It says the peace of God is ours. And only this will we accept. And only is this that we will want. Peace be to us today. For we have found a simple, happy way to what? To leave the world of ambiguity and to replace our shifting goals and solitary dreams with a single purpose and companionship. We had come to the place where we said there must be a better way. And that better way has appeared to us. And we have said, yes, this is who I am. This is what I am. This is why I am. And I will no longer substitute this reality with idols that this world offers. I will no longer substitute my reality with ideas and thoughts and dreams that are antithetical to the truth of who I am. It says, for peace is union. Union is oneness. Peace is oneness. And oneness is the acceptance of the reality that there is only the one. And we are part of the one, not as something separate or unique or distinct, but we are part and a parcel of the one being, the one life, the one self, the one love. that we all share, that we all are. That's the unity. That's the companionship. That is our reality. For peace is union, if it be of God. Why? Because God is unity. God is oneness. We seek no further. The end of seeking has occurred. And now we just have this adventurous discovery of all that means in this present moment. And we remain in the present, where peace abide, where love abide, where joy abide in his presence. There is fullness of joy and pleasures. So now we are back home where God would have us be, where we never left, experiencing the pleasures, the wonder, the glory. That is our very life. We are close. And as we draw nearer, we say that there is no peace except the peace of God. And I am, notice now, I am, that's who you are. You are the I am. And I am glad, and I am thankful that it is so. And so it is. There is no peace except the peace that except the peace of God. And that's the end of workbook lesson 200. Oh my God. How sweet. Like Jackie used to say, how sweet it is. How glorious. Paul said it this way. We go from glory to glory to glory. So it's discoveries now. When you wake up, then your life become a life of adventure and discovery, where you see everything through the eyes of love. And so you love everything. You understand that everything is God, and God is everything, and everyone, and everything. And so you value that which God created. You become the light of the world, like it says. And your function is what? Forgiveness. Now we see the importance of forgiveness in the dream of separation. It is the closest thing to heaven, to forgive, not forgive like the world taught us, but to forgive from a reality that what we thought occurred in dreams, it never occurred. And so there's no residual effect from true forgiveness. Why? Because to forgive any and everything, forgive the world and all humanity, is to forgive yourself. Why? Because you was a part of that dream. You cannot be set free without setting the whole world free and all that is within it. And then you walk the earth on carpet, like it says, with all your hopelessness under your feet. That's what Jesus meant when he says, I have made your dream, which he called the enemy. He said, I have made your dreams what? My footstool. Now you make them yours. Where you no longer embrace any falsehood about you. You no longer embrace any falsehood about anyone else, regardless of what they may be doing in the dream. They only doing what they're doing because they're still asleep. They think that the lion and tigers, bears, still running after them. But it's not. And so we become the light of the world. When you wake up to the reality, you stay within the framework of the dream of separation. Why? There's work to be done. You see your brothers and sisters still in the nightmare. You don't want them to. You're the love. You understand that now. You're the love, and so your goal is to what? To love one another. Our goal is to even love those that hate us, like Jesus said. Love your enemy. Love everything. Why? It's just a matter of time. All that's going to change. It's a matter of time that every single human, every single being that ever walked this planet. Like Jesus put it this way. He said, every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess. I'm not talking about bowing and confessing to him. That's how, the religious community said. But he's talking about every knee, every falsity, every illusion, every idea of separation shall eventually become the nothingness that it is. Why? It only happens through our awakening. I said we wake up every day abiding in that peace, knowing our number one function is to be the light. And to forgive. And to realize that which was once an evil thing, a bad thing, has now become what? The holiest place on earth. You have become the holiest thing on earth, along with all humanity, because love has forgotten no one. Let me stop. I'm feeling myself right now. Thank you so very, very much for being here. The reality of my oneness with you. Acknowledge the reality of your oneness with me. We call that namaste. Have a good day. Bye-bye.